Down dusty skid trail, men and beasts go, to craggy willow bottoms where pure mountain water flows, where beavers and conservation meet, with hopes of fish teeming at moose's feet. Logs moved in by horses' gritty brawn, aquatic life and dreams that life, old and new, will future spawn. Beneath the splash of horses' hooves rises high the towering protection of safe environment roofs. And if you pause to take in the massive thundering beast, you might in the future see satisfied wildlife and feast.
Tincup Creek is like most western trout streams where it's driven by spring snowmelt. So in the spring we get really high flow events and then it returns to base flows for summer, fall, and winter. In a broad, flat valley like Tincup, historically would have had an abundance of beaver dams, log jams, and a very well-connected floodplain. So during that spring runoff, water would be spread out all across the floodplain. That fine sediment in that water would be deposited. You'd get much cleaner water moving downstream, and a lot of water would be stored in the ground as groundwater and actually slowly work its way back into the stream and improve stream flows all through the summer and fall.
Looking at Tincup from a closer lens, we've seen that these meadow systems, which should be highly productive, have started to degrade. But what we're trying to do is nudge the system in a trajectory that keeps the riparian and wetland values, as well as adds that complexity and productivity in this meadow reach. We're using a multitude of techniques to restore this stream habitat. And to meet our objectives of raising the floodplain, we've got beaver that are here currently in this system. So we're placing structured posts in certain areas to allow them to help build up and back water. One of the other ways that we're doing it is putting these log structures in place to capture and create multiple thread systems. All of these components work together to kind of bring the habitat back.
The objectives of this project are very similar to what we did lower down on Tincup Creek along the road. We did about 5 miles of restoration work, narrowing channels, elevating the channel, reconnecting old meanders. And then you can see the results in far more robust riparian vegetation, improved water quality during runoff from all that fine sediment being deposited in those beaver ponds and out on the floodplain. Our goals here are to do the same thing, but we can't access this project with heavy equipment because we're 1.5 miles into the backcountry. So instead, we're implementing what's called process-based restoration.
This has been quite an undertaking of a project. We've had our helitack crews involved that came out here and dropped off our posts, and then the carts that the horsemen are using. We brought in the Wyoming conservation crews. We had them doing a multitude of things, including felling trees. Some of those were falling directly into the creek.
The Wyoming Conservation Corps used a post pounder to secure those structures into place and improve their persistence through spring runoff, as well as weave some smaller trees in there to reduce permeability and further encourage that aggradation of the stream bed. Corey's predecessor, Lee Mabey, had the idea to use teams of draft horses to pull much larger trees into the stream and create structures that can aggrade sediment and actually re-elevate that stream bed and reconnect it to the floodplain.
Forming a structure is very challenging, but very rewarding. It depends on tree lengths, what type of tree it is. It also really depends on the horse's capability.
It's nice to see the horse back at its roots, making a difference for the environment, for the wildlife, and being used as they were designed to be used. People don't realize what they can do. People don't realize the weight they can pull, the work that they can achieve, that modern equipment can't get done.
This is a roadless area, and so we go back in there and we're 2.5 miles of trail. We have just a simple two-wheeled cart. The carts are a much safer way to do our job. Lots easier than walking for an old guy like me.
Creed and Daryl are really honed in with their horses and what the horses can do, and so it falls onto me to help figure out what the structure needs to be, what the goal of that structure is. So it is definitely a collaborative effort, and we've gotten really good at working together and understanding what the other person needs and what they're looking for.
Forest Service employees, they're in there with their waders on and clear to their elbows, hooking chains, unhooking chains, wading in that creek. It's all hands on.
It was incredibly special for all of us just to get to watch Creed and Daryl work with their horses and just how effective they are with them. They were able to take their horses and put them in a new setting, an entirely new situation, and succeed.
Within the Forest Service, we have a lot of valuable partners. On this project and others that I've pursued, Trout Unlimited has been a key resource to the National Forest.
The Caribou-Targhee National Forest composes a large percentage of the western half of the Salt River watershed. Our partnership between Caribou-Targhee and Trout Unlimited is extremely important to what we're hoping to accomplish.
We have the whole complete native fish assemblage, as well as boreal toads, native crayfish, the pilos, western pearl shell mussel. So as we look at this system and why we would want to restore wetland and riparian values and stream ecosystem function, it's because of those key biota. We need more practitioners. We need people focused on these freshwater ecosystems and the conservation of these systems.
Projects like this are important not only for fish, but they also benefit wildlife. These wet meadow willow complexes and some of these very well-connected floodplains provide excellent calving grounds for elk and mule deer, excellent forage for moose, elk, and other species. There's all kinds of birds that use these as they migrate.
And I tease all these fishermen around here, right? They're telling me they've seen a fish this big or one that big, and I always ask them, do all fishermen lie or do only liars fish?
Man and horse met in unison for conservation's goals. Here in the mountains to combine each their role. And above the jangle of taut, jerking chains, upon this land a new future comes with needed change. Here domestic calm met with the wild frontier and decided that each had something to share. Wild country has always held men in solemn awe. Rough men venture there to tame and bring new law. And lest we forget what built it all, men on and behind horses, both great and small.